All right, welcome in. This is the Front Row podcast with Coach Mark Gottfried, and excited today. I've had a number of amazing guests, but today I've got Jim Harbaugh, the new head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers, and just coming off his natty at Michigan, his national championship. But before we start, Jim, man, it's great to see you. I'm glad to have you on.
Great to see you. Great to be on the show, Mark.
So let's start with this one, Jim, because this will be a little fun right here. So, I've your brother and I talked about it, but kind of the roots with your parents and my parents. If we go back, and most people on the planet, they don't know where Crestline, Ohio is, but we do. And
yes, we do.
But there's a great little community, a little railroad town, north central Ohio. Your parents, my parents. You and I share our grandmothers or sisters, and so family. But what do you think, Jim, the impact of that community probably had on your parents and my Uncle Mike and everybody, but then translate that, how that affected you? Like, how, for Jim Harbaugh and the story and all the success you've had, does that, the roots of that town, do you see that as having some impact for you?
Huge impact, Mark. You're probably the same as you. I mean, where did I begin? It's like, your first memories, 5 years old, 4 years old. Our family vacation was to go back to Crestline to visit Grandpa Bill and Grandma Marie. And with that came lots of cousins. And also we'd go to Cleveland. My mom, Joe Sapiti, Jesse Sapiti, we'd visit there. Crestline, the stories, for our family go way back. I mean, my Grandpa Bill was a semi-pro baseball player, and he was a boxer. 8 or 9 fights that he had, and then it goes back to his dad, Little Thunder, and the stories they used to. Hey, he's kind of a shorter guy, like 5'6" or so, but he was a boxer too, and he had this look, like this kind of look he would give you, and kind of that look. Are you trying to put something over on me? Let me try to figure this out. And I've been accused, and my brother too. I mean, I guess my dad. Some people go, what's that look? What's he thinking? And it's just kind of like, and I trace that back to Little Thunder. That's where I got it from. That's where my dad got it from. That's where Bill Harbaugh got it from. And I'll see my brother on the sideline sometimes. I'd be looking at a ref, an official or something. It'd be, that look. And then I had that same look. Like,
that's funny.
So it kind of, if I, say anything, it'd be competitors. When I think of Crestline, Ohio, I mean, it was competitors. My dad, Jack. My Uncle Jerry Harbaugh, one of the great all-time great coaches and competitors, and you hear about their stories when they were athletes. My Uncle Jim Harbaugh, Janet, and your family. Mike Gottfried, Joe Gottfried, Johnny Gottfried. Coach DePietro. I mean, story after story of guys that were playing basketball against Lucas, when it, my dad was at the game, when I can't remember the name of the basketball player and the Ohio State basketball player, but they squared off, and one had like 46 points and the other had like 40.
Larry Siegfried. It was Larry Siegfried.
Larry Siegfried. That's the name. And my favorite stories though, like, so people have context. I mean, I didn't live back then, but my dad would always describe it like they lived on a corner, and then Mike and Joe and Johnny were on the opposite corner. So, they were kitty corner, on a street that was like that. So they were cousins, but they were really like brothers, and always on the same team or competitors against each other growing up, or the stories of your grandfather, always picking them up, always taking them to a game, always arranging a game. If it was baseball, they were doing baseball. If it was football, they were doing football. If it was basketball, they're going to play basketball. And so it's just a lifetime of hearing those stories. hey, we're gonna go play Mansfield today. These guys are like, 13, 14 years old. Get a good night's sleep, and we're going over there tomorrow. We're gonna show them what Crestline's all about. I guess for you and me, you know, you were maybe a sophomore. I think we were pretty close to the same grade. I was a freshman maybe in high school, or a sophomore, and you were a sophomore. Were you 82 graduate?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
From high school? So we're the same age, and we were all going back there one summer, and my dad set it all up. He goes, I just want you to know this Mark Gottfried might be the best basketball player that has ever come out of Crestline, Ohio. Now he's living down in Mobile right now, but we're going to have a game. There's going to be a game, and it's going to be, you're going to guard him, he's going to guard you, and we are going to find out who the best player is. So this was built up, and so we were in a gym, and Mike was there, Joe was there, Johnny's there, Uncle Jerry, Jack Harbaugh, and there's a game going on. But there was, in my mind, I can't remember who else was playing. It was just me and you, and I was trying to guard you, and you were guarding me, and I think I was scoring, and you were scoring, and you were good. You were probably just, a little bit better than I was, but and I think that's how the game ended. Your team won or something like that. But I felt like I acquitted myself well. But it was just a microcosm of, man, that's how these guys grew up. That's how Johnny Godfrey, Joe Godfrey, Jack Harbaugh, Larry Siegfried, Semmelmacher. The names are like legendary, but that's what they were doing. They were competing, giving it their very best. And, it was an iron sharpening iron, biblical as it gets, was coming out of Crestline, Ohio.
It's interesting you bring that up, Jim, because I remember that day, and you were playing so hard, and I just remember I was about ready to say, I'm not ready to kick your but you were all physical, and we were tangled up and competing. But John and I talked about this. When we grew up, though, and even though you never lived in Crestline, I never lived there. Our parents were from this small little railroad town in Ohio, but like the mental toughness, just play hard and be tough. Like soft was never, we didn't even know what that was. Like that was like foreign to all of us. And probably your playing career, as you did really well as a player, and probably played at Michigan, and obviously your long career in the NFL and coaching, and John and myself and all of them, my Uncle Mike. But we just played hard, and you just competed. It didn't matter if you were playing checkers or baseball or football or throwing the ball or whatever, but it was always a competition, always. And we just grew up in that, and it's had to had an impact. I know it's had an impact on me, even though I never lived there. It had to with you and John as well, like the same kind of upbringing, like your parents. They weren't going to tolerate you coming home and whining and crying and being a little bitty baby, and that wasn't a part of what we did.
Yeah, we're allowed to really be in the house. If the sunlight was out, you had to be out, and you had to be playing, because if you knew you weren't out playing somewhere, then my mom was going to put us to work around the house. We were going to be doing something, shoveling snow or cutting the grass or pulling weeds, anything but pulling the weeds. So you went when the sun came up, and you came back when the sun went down. But I kind of, and to watch it, like my son Jack's 11 years old, so we just moved from Ann Arbor, Michigan, to California here, and he was fortunate to get onto a baseball team. He was fortunate to get onto a football team, and you wonder how it's going to work out, and it's going to go well. What never changes, no matter what state you're from, no matter what country you're from, no matter what team you're on, competitors are welcomed. Mm-hmm. I watched Jack, play his first baseball game, his first football game, and he did good. And when the game was over, some of the guys that they didn't know him, they hadn't talked to him, but after the game, coach called them all up, and about 4 or 5 of the guys patted him on the back, said, "Good game, Jack. Good game, Jack." And it's that communication that step 2, we want to be your friend, because competitors are welcome. And then third step, I don't know if he's going to get to it or not, but the third step in this whole is when you tell somebody else, hey, I don't think I can make the game. I don't have a ride. My dad's working, and hey, my dad will come pick you up.
Right.
We'll come pick you up.
That's right.
And I don't think it gets any better than that. Like, my daughter Katie brought up the point. I was kind of reliving this at dinner last night with the whole family, and Katie was like, "Well, they should welcome you to the team no matter what. If they're a good friend, they should welcome you on the team." And I go, "Yeah, I get it. But let me just go back to my original premise here. No matter what state, country, team you're on, competitors are welcome. Come and compete, and then people are going to want to be your friend.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have a ride, they're going to give you a ride to the game."
Great.
How many stories have you heard where the player? I want to go back and thank. I want to thank Mr. Gottfried. When I was growing up, I heard my dad say this, for always giving us a ride to the game and setting up a game for us. Or the coach that I want to thank this family. They brought me in. They let me stay at their house, and coaches will do that too. We tend to want to be friends with the competitors.
That's right.
And the really good players, if they don't have a ride to the game, let's make sure they get
there.
Get a ride to the game.
No question.
There was back to kids sports, but we had this young guy, William S. We had a William R. and a William S. in the 6-year-old soccer back in Ann Arbor, and coaches were doing a really good job coaching, and one of them happened to come over to me and said, you're a coach. I mean, you got any coaching advice? I said, yeah, I got some coaching advice for you. Whatever you do, make sure William S. has a ride to the game. Go pick him up if you have to.
Get him there.
I don't think it changes.
No.
I don't think it changed from Crestline, Ohio
to
Manhattan Beach, California, to Ann Arbor, anywhere in between. Whatever country, state, or team you're on, competitors are welcome.
That's amazing. Jim, my dad sent me this the other day, Joe Gottfried, my father. But anyway, he sent me a picture a couple days back, and it's when I got baptized, Catholic Church. How about this? May of 1964, because I was born in January. And the witnesses that were there at my baptism for me was Jack and Jackie Harbaugh, your parents. How about that? And they were my godparents growing up. So if anything, yeah, that's it. And but it's interesting in that community. Like I was able to grow up around coaching. You grew up around coaching. Your dad, very, very successful football coach, and you got to, like I did, we got to watch. We got to understand how bad it hurts when you lose, but then how exhilarating it is when you win. I can remember my dad's players at Ashland College, coming to our house and eating sloppy joes and French fries and hanging out in the living room. And I'm sure, your dad was the same way. So you grew up in it, and then it has to carry over. That's just part of your fabric. It's part of who you are, as a coach and a parent. I would assume, just like me and just like John, because we were around it, because our parents taught us that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what is it like? What's it like to have a dad as a coach, or what would it have been like to not have a dad as a coach? I just don't know. I don't know. I always had a dad who was a coach, and a teacher too. The beautiful thing about my dad's era, your dad's era, Mike, they all started as teachers. They had to teach school. My dad was a phys ed teacher in Camp McKinley High School, and great school. But he was the freshman coach teaching phys ed. But that's it. That's coaching, and it's the same as teaching. It's those two words are synonymous, and got to witness it, and really just kind of follow those examples of my dad. Really, and I was taught early, really early age, that a teacher, a coach, I mean, they're an expert, and whether that be a professor, whoever is given the direction and in charge, they're the expert, and they know the subject matter better than I do. And if I just do what they tell me to do, when they tell me to do it, how they tell me to do it, then I'll be successful. So I was really learned that from a very early age. Like, hey, that professor is the expert. They know more than you. You listen to them and do what they say, and you'll be successful. And it really, so that's worked. It worked really well having my dad as a coach, because I knew how to be as a player, and then, when I transitioned to being a coach, then that was same, holding myself to that same accountability. But that's it, really. I mean, just listen to the instruction. Like really hear the instruction, and then step 2, embrace the instruction wholeheartedly. And then 3, go execute the instruction to the best of your God-given ability.
That's it.
It's not that hard.
No,
it's not that hard. So,
Jim, where do you think? Because you and I, similar age, growing up, same sort of family. Cousins, our grandmothers or sisters, and all that. But you, as a player, and all through your career at Michigan, and then in the NFL, and I think you would probably admit this, and I'm not slighting you at all. Probably not the most talented guy out there. You weren't the guy that was just going to zip it around and be the prettiest quarterback, but you learned how to be a really good player for a long time. And really, if somebody were to describe you, they would just talk about, God, he's just a tough sucker boy. He I remember a game, it was a Monday night game I'm watching from somewhere. I might have been the coach at Murray State, but I can't remember. Maybe it was before that. But, you come off of a tackle, somebody tackled you, and you came up and you got the dirt all in your face mask, and, the grass is hanging out of there, and you're back in there. But, where do you think, I mean, some of that might be innate, but like, where do you think all that toughness mentality kind of derived from? Where does that go to?
That's probably a couple different places, but, it's gotta be from, because I see my brother has it too. It's like, just tough as nails, and you just don't. Competing out. Just so tough, and he just brings it out of you. So yeah, definitely. Started with my dad. I remember the first year I played in football, and got into a tackling drill, and I'm like, man, I don't really need to do this. I'm really good at basketball. I'm really good at baseball. But my dad bought me those $12 cleats, and he told me that if he saw me walking up Anderson Street, and I didn't finish out the year, and I quit, I knew it was coming. I knew I'd get a whooping. So, yeah, I better strap it on. There's no way out here. That, and the other thing too is, yeah, definitely my dad, mom, they believed in me. That you need that one person in your life to believe in you. And he played catch with me and take me to ball games, but yeah, he believed in me. And I think that set off a belief inside myself where, yeah, maybe I wasn't the most talented or gifted, but I thought I was. And maybe I was delusional, but I thought I was better than everybody. I thought I was that kid that all the other dads talked about, like some kid's going to come along and be better than you. And delusional to the fact, when you and I played basketball that day, my dad was like, well, he got the better of me. No, he didn't. He didn't get the better of me. Let's go again. Let's keep going. I got him. I can take him. I just need a little bit more. I need a little bit more work on this and going to my left, but I'll get him. I'll get Mark Gottfried before it's all over. So somewhat of the, I think you're absolutely right, but I think there was some dreamer belief, belief that perhaps delusional that I was really that guy, and I was hell bent on being the best. So maybe that, it wasn't perfect, but I was striving for excellence, and somewhere found what I found, but I look back on it and go, as a player, I gave it my very best, and therefore I can feel good about what I accomplished.
Jim, when I go back to, and you had a great career as a player, and then I can remember, this is interesting how you remember things. I remember actually where I was. You and I talked on the phone. I was in my house. I was coaching at Alabama, and the job at University of San Diego came open, and we talked on the phone because you were going to interview. You were going to interview at USD in San Diego, and most people in America don't even know they have a football team. But I think you were working for the Raiders at the time, maybe. But anyway, you had this opportunity, and you were getting prepared. Like, okay, I'm going to get prepared for my interview and go in there, and you obviously did really well, and they hired you. But like for me, coaching always was. I always felt I'd probably coach even when I was younger because I grew up around it. It was natural to me. It was easy. I saw it. I understood that world. But for you, did you always know you wanted to coach after playing, or was there ever a point in time you said, I don't know if that's for me. Maybe something else is for me out there outside of coaching?
Yeah, I remember getting dropped off in kindergarten. We were in Bowling Green, Ohio. My dad was coaching at BGSU, and we took a bus to school, and I remember every day I would get off this bus and I would like be daydreaming to the point where I thought, okay, I'm like the players that I see, at my dad's football games, getting off the bus before the game because mom would always take us down there, and the team's arriving at the locker room or wherever they're at, and we're gonna meet the team and give them a high five as they go into the locker room. So that's I always pictured that. I'm on the bus. We're going to the stadium. Here I am getting off the bus. People are watching me get off the bus. I'm high fiving some people and stuff. And but it was there. I mean, there was just one of those days where I go, oh yeah, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to play as long as I can, then I'll coach, then die. And I had that thought like probably 6 years old, 5 years old, whatever I was in kindergarten.
I'm going to play. I'm going to coach, and I'm going to die. That's too funny. Well, we grew up around it. So it was, and not only did we grow up around it, but we grew up in such a, like it was a nurturing thing too. Like our parents, I'm sure Jack was the same way, where they were teaching you too, not always just directly teaching you, but you were able to see everything. You had access to everything. Go in the locker room. I could see everything. I could be, in the sideline of a game when I was little, and I could see the interaction. I'd sit on the bench with my dad when he was a high school coach or a small college coach, and I could see it. And so for you, probably very similar. You got to see it. And then throughout the years, Jim, have there been times where, for me, when I would find myself in a tough situation as a coach, I could always call my dad. I could always call him and say, Dad, I don't know about this, or, I got to figure this one out, or I got a guy on my staff and I might have to make a change. That's hard. Like it's hard to make a change and to fire somebody. And I always had that. I always had my dad. I always had my dad and my Uncle Mike, really. And for you, I'm sure with your dad probably, and John, obviously, who's coaching as well. But have you been able to, has that been something that's been a real good thing for you over the years?
Oh, it's been the best. And I say it like this, Mark, like I'll call my dad and say, hey, Dad, this came up, what do you think? And my dad, boy, that's a tough one. I don't know. Here's what we did in 1994 when I was coaching at Western Kentucky, and like, bam, that's perfect. I'm doing that. And I know I probably would have come up with that same thing, but it would have taken me 3 hours and a migraine headache. And just right there, you got the answer. You just bounce something off. It's like nuggets of gold that just come out, of his pockets. Like he's just, hey, let's go take a 20-minute. Well, I know one or two things are just going to be complete nuggets, and I got to write them down, just so I don't miss them. So yeah, we talk all the time. When I was at Michigan, my dad and mom, they lived right next door to us. So it was like next door, 8 solid years. Before that, he's watching all of our practice tape and game tape, drawing things up, does the same thing for my brother, and he'll do the same thing here at the Chargers. But yeah, he's the absolute best. I would say, I mean, one of the all-time greats.
Yeah.
When it comes to coaching, there's not a household name, like those, but like, yeah, Bo Schembechler, Jack Harbaugh, Dave Adolph, uh, Lindy Infante, Mike Ditka, those people, Ted Marchibroda, Tom Minnick, who was our Pop Warner coach and sheriff of the town in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I mean, Clem Weiser, my high school basketball coach, Earl Hansen, football coach. I mean, I have just had a unbelievable streak of being around some of the greatest coaches and mentors of all time. Al Davis hired me at the Raiders. I mean, just that, how do you get so lucky? I mean, there was a guy in Crestline my dad always used to talk about. His name was Lucky, and they used to always say to him, "How'd you get so lucky, Lucky?" So I kind of feel like Lucky in that regard.
Talk about this one with me, Jeff. So, because you and I share one thing on this, is that we both coached at our alma maters. And
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you this story. Before I took the Alabama job, I was at Murray State, and I called John Wooden, which was another one. How about that? You just dial the phone and call John Wooden, of all things. But I talked to him about going to his alma mater. And I said, you never left UCLA to go to Purdue. Why would you have never gone back to Purdue? And his answer was, he said, Mark, because I was getting ready to take the job at Alabama. And he said, just remember that the expectations will always be higher for you. You're gonna put more expectation on yourself, but then the fans are gonna have an expectation because they're rooting for you because you're a former player. So I did that at Alabama. You did that at Michigan. Would you think of some of what Coach Wooden said was true? How did that did that apply to you? That expectation that maybe you had to deliver for your alma mater, like I did. I wanted to deliver for Alabama because I loved the school, because I played there. I wore the uniform just like you did.
Yeah. I mean, I love John Wooden. I mean, I know he's right. And there's a sense I always like as a coach, it's like, man, I had to do a job where I could get hurt and did get hurt. And I think that's a cool advantage, for somebody that's really played the game, what it's like. But I just turn that into expectations I have for players. I want to put on myself too. So high expectations. If you don't like those, then you don't like to compete. Is what I tell myself. So that's. Going back to Michigan, I just didn't like the way they were playing. It just I didn't like where it was at, and I just wanted to be a force for good, and I think we did that. Team effort, players, coaches, everybody. I think the one thing we did do, as I look back, is we brought back family, and we brought back tradition to the way I knew it when I was playing at Michigan for the legendary Bo Schembechler. So, proud to say that, I mean, I did it much like Bo Schembechler, like Jack Harbaugh. And, that was the good of it. I knew all the good things there were. And you see some of the other sides, maybe not so good, and you try to chip away at it. It was, that's just something that, man, I'm going back this weekend for the ring
special
ceremony.
It'll always be special for you. It'll always be. Yeah. And if I walk out on the basketball court at Alabama to this day, and I've gone back they've honored a bunch of my teams, it's special. That's your school. It's special. It's
different. 2 gifts to keep on giving.
Yeah.
2 gifts to keep on giving: friendship and winning. Those gifts just keep on giving, and I'm going to get a gift to go back this Saturday and enjoy the ring ceremony for the national championship and the spring game, and I'm going to really enjoy it.
That's good
with our coaches and our players.
That's great. All right, Jim, talk to me about this one real quick. Let's go back to bittersweet moment. You make the Super Bowl, and you've been asked this question 1,000 times. I know you have, and but you reach that pinnacle with the Niners. You get there, which the NCAA basketball tournament's big. I always say it's the greatest show on earth. The NBA playoffs are big, but the Super Bowl is a little different. That's a little different monster. That's a big one. And Now you look across over there, and it's your brother. Of all things, it's your brother. It's two brothers. Now, you guys have been wrestling in the bedroom since you're about 4 or 5 years old probably, and you've been competing in the backyard, and now you got to compete against your brother for the Super Bowl and the World Championship. What's your thoughts when you know it's your brother?
Yeah, so that the thought was that, man, I'm really happy this happened to our family. This is just making the Super Bowl. That's like lightning striking a human being. The odds of that are like in that category to me. But lightning striking two brothers, what are the odds of that? So really happy that it happened to our family, and was super proud and happy for my brother that he got there. Now the game's on and the preparations on, and like, wait a second, these guys are my brother. These players that I'm coaching, and these coaches that I'm coaching with. I mean, they're brothers, and now let's go have at this and let the best team win. When it was all said and done, my brother's team had won. I was proud of my brother. I was happy for my brother, and knowing that's my best friend in the world, and I love him, and I'm proud that he did it. And and walk off that field going, okay, there'll be another chance, there'll be another time, and up until now, that's been the only time, that's been the only chance. So now, you can probably feel the passion, the energy to get back there and to win it. And that's really it. In fact, I was down in the lunchroom today. We had some 30 visitors, three or four players we were down there with, and it was up there. It was that Super Bowl game was playing, Ravens and 49ers, and right when I started looking at it, I think the score was like 28-6, and I know what happened after 28-6. Like Colin Kaepernick had a shot of him, and that team came storming back. We got all the way to the 5-yard line with a chance to take the lead, and we didn't get it in the end zone. But there's definitely, I don't know, there's not too many days to go by where I don't think about what we could have done different, or what we could. And I'll tell you what, won some games since doing things, learning from that lesson. But all those things, all those emotions, and in the NFL, some people are asking, like, what's different now? What's different from when I was coaching there 9 years ago? And one thing I can tell you is, 9 years ago, I didn't think the NFL could get any bigger, Mark. I didn't think it could mean any more. I didn't think it could be any more popular than it was a decade ago. But it has. It's doubled. I don't know what, 2x, 3x, 4x, but it is so much more in terms of in popularity, and that's a great thing. And ready to have at it. There's John Harbaugh, like previously stated. I mean, he's just so damn tough. He pulls it out of you. And there's Andy Reid, and there's 30 other great coaches and staffs and players. Watching this year's draft, I mean, they are so good. The players coming out in this draft. I mean, it looks like 7 rounds deep are going to make a NFL team this year. Just as good in terms of depth and quality. So football is strong right now.
Jim, let me ask you this one. I'm going to be respectful of your time, and we'll get going. But you're at Michigan, and you won the national championship. You've got a couple, phenomenal wins over the Buckeyes, obviously. And here comes the NFL. And you've been there, so you've been to the Super Bowl. You've been right there. You're right there on the cusp. And part of the decision, like, man, I'm gonna win it. I'm gonna win it. I'm gonna win it. I was knocking on the door, but I'm gonna win it. Was part of that in your mind or not? A Super Bowl.
That was part. I mean, part of it, sure. I love the NFL. I love Michigan. In fact, I was doing the math. I mean, as a player and a coach, I had done 21 years in the NFL. And as a player and a coach, I had done 21 years in college football. So 42 years, 21 in the NFL, 21 in college, some form or fashion. And, that's okay. That's something. Again, the challenge, the challenge of it, knowing, just how good the NFL is, and then the AFC West, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, the Raiders, the Broncos, and I played for the Chargers, and the other piece was I felt like they wanted me, they wanted me, and they liked how I did things and what I did and how I did it, and they wanted me to do the job. Okay, am I man enough to do this? Am I man enough to, go coach this superstar quarterback, against these other superstar, players and teams? Let's go find out. Let's go find out. So it's really, those are the biggest pieces.
Well, Jim, it's been great to have you. I'm pulling for you, man. I wish you the best of luck. And for the record, when we played in the high school gym, when we were about in the 9th grade, I think I kind of kicked your ass, to be honest.
Well, I wouldn't go to kick your ass. I think you got the better of it. I've matured enough to.
I think I retired you from basketball and pushed you over there into football.
No. You did not retire me from basketball. It's well documented the kind of basketball career I had at Pioneer High School and Palo Alto High School, 3rd team All Bay Area, Mark.
There we go.
Even got a scholarship offer to St. Mary's and one or 2 other schools.
That's great.
You did not retire me.
All right.
You can take me now. I don't think I can make a 5-foot
I don't think
shot.
I can. We'd have to play horse. That's about it. Play a game of horse. But anyway.
Always rooting for you, brother.
Thank you, man.
You're a great man, great coach, great family.
Thank you,
Love you
Gio.
guys.
All right. Best of luck. Thank you.